The Night Questors are sent off by Sigma to fulfill one of his, I bet, many wishes. And since these goal-orientated boys and girls roam around the realms until they finish their task, they can look wildly different and unique. Which is the most perfect thing to say to build my own. After debuting and building most of this Lord Imperator, I first had to decide on his weapon. And as the war scroll only states Warblade, I lean myself out of the window now and say basically everything that is sharp at some point can work here. So on the menu was either a Vindictor Spear or a Reclusian's Axe. And I went for the spear, where I had to cut away the upper arm as there was a pauldron attached to it which was kind of in the way. I also had to get rid of the original hammer as I want him to carry a shield later. I used the newer Lord's Veritant one for that, but to make that fit I had to remove everything that's on the inside of the shield and resculpt it later with some green stuff if necessary. I cleaned it with my hobby knife and made the cutted side as smooth as possible for the upcoming steps. And once that was butchered and cleaned, I went on with his spear, or at least the arm holding the spear. But as the upper arm was missing and the arm was way too short now, I had to use a round plastic part to cover the missing length. And when the upper arm sat in place, I glued on his way too oversized halo with that bird head resting on the shoulder kind of part. And after that I tri-fitted the loadout once more and thought that the spear is a little bit too short. So I cut the blade out of there as clean as possible and put on the Judgment Blade from the new Lord Veritant. And while you see me doing this, I want to welcome the newest channel members, Warmeister Iris, Loopy, Dubwoofer and Andre Hoffmann 7409. Thank you all so much for the support. And after judging this to be a pretty cool weapon, I went on with something even uniquer. Is this even a word? I thought some kind of a ranged weapon might be a cool thing when you're on your own, and when I found this quiver I thought I could place it between his cape and the armor, being a little detail for now. And after that I found this very small STormcast Eternal anchor, which seems to come from a very small ship. I cleaned the rope, and before you type that this is a grappling hook, I glue it on the belt, hanging loose there. Speaking of hanging loose, I thought I'd give the bob that hangs around his shoulders a new appearance. Something a little bit darker. I took this Aurochs Wrecker face mask, and this took me way too long to get this right, and cut off his jaw. And as it just nearly fitted, I thought I cut the bird's beak away and removed more material until it fits. And while you see me hollowing out the skull even more, I would love to do the YouTubey thing and encourage you to leave a like or a subscription, as the next goal is to get to the 10,000 subscribers. Which is nearly twice the people living in the same part of the town as I do. And once that's done, which took way longer than just the last 30 seconds, I green stuffed on his arm and tried to push the rest of the green stuff somewhere no one can see it. While I had the green stuff on hand, I sculpted the straps where he can carry his shield, and once they were dry I glued it onto his left arm. I had to work a little more on that strap, creating some kind of a texture that would actually fit here. And once that's done, I gave him the reason he carries some arrows with him, even though a crossbow uses bolts. I just realized that and now it bothers me. If I can recall it correctly, it comes from a Sisters of Battle canoness. And the next step was to create another small detail. I cut away this cord from a Mongolian space marine that turned into an Inquisitor and glued it right under the chicken's skull. And after that his head found its place, one from an Annihilator, and he was based, got some plants from Green Stuff World and was painted with a coat of Incubi Darkness. And a tiny amount of Darksea Blue mixed into it for the darker spots. Followed by a layer of Cabalite Green. And once that's done, I used Pro Acrylic Jade to cover like 50% of each armor plate. And the next step was to use a 50-50 mix of Jade and Ghost Green to highlight and edge highlight the armor panels. And now onto the browns. I used Dark Rust and Burnt Red in a 50-50 mix to paint the dagger hilt and the scabbard, and of course all the oath papers hanging around this miniature and the skull. His robe and cape get a coat of Corvus Black. Nothing too fancy here, I sometimes don't even highlight these parts as the rest of the miniature is already busy enough. And for his little shoulder birdie, also known as Gryph-hound, I went on with Evil Red. And after that I first painted the golden parts. I used Pro Acryl's bronze for that and shaded the parts with Vallejo's Game Wash Black. And once every golden part was covered, I went on with his face. I used my 2-go recipe, which actually evolved out of these guys, of Buckman's Glow over a coat of some purple paint and highlighted it with Elfic Flesh. After that I used the same Elfic Flesh to paint everything that's paper and bone on the miniature. And once that's done, I break all the natural looking colors with Gory Red, where I very quickly blend Scarlet and Whitewater Red into it. Also a tiny amount of Sun Yellow on the assuming hottest part of it. I decided to match the Gryph-hound's feathers to the flames. And once that's done, I based the miniature with Dark Earth by AK Interactive, edge highlighted the golden parts with light bronze and called him done. And here we have him. The former Lord Imperatant turned into a Knight Questor. I think Fire and Jade is a very common, established and well-working combination, very pleasing for the eye and very impressive in a large number. And the Knight Questor can really give your force a lot of character as these guys roam around the realms, fulfill quests and may collect some stuff on their journeys to stay active, instead of all these other lightning teleporting heroes of the Stormcast. Also, they are always a fun and cheap little project as these guys tend to be on sale multiple times on various web stores. I have to say I have no background for this guy. Maybe he hunted a Soulblight Gravelord, that's why he has this crossbow and long-reaching weapon and maybe that neck protection. But anyway, next week we are going back to Chaos again and I think many will like what's coming here. So thank you very much for watching and we are going to see each other in the next one.